Hello everyone. Welcome to another Carolina Snowflake Meetup Group event. Today we will be going over sending emails in Snowflake. So our previous meetups are all recorded and they're available on our YouTube channel, usually 1 to 3 days after the actual meetup. So we'll go over a quick Snowflake refresher and some use cases and benefits of sending emails in Snowflake. And then Anupam will be providing a demo for you guys, and then we can do a little Q&A.
I'll take it from here. So basically, your Snowflake is your cloud-based database platform, and they have the option of using the either AWS or GCP or Azure as your underlying cloud platform. It comes with a host of features along with the traditional on-premise features that you have in database like Postgres, Oracle, SQL, all of those. You even have that back in Snowflake. You can have your OLTP databases. You can have your ETL pipelines such as your Snowpipe. You have Marketplace where you can download data sets which are provided by custom vendors out there. It also has its own in-house UI platform, which is called as Snowsight, which helps you build quick charts and quick analysis. But you can also connect your Snowflake platform with your favorite BI tool, Looker, Tableau, and so on. Just like any database, you can perform your normal data transformations, integration, analytics, and so on.
Thank you, Anupam. What I really wanted to mention is that you can pull all your different data from your different sources into the cloud, and it gives you a single source of truth. So you can kind of get a holistic picture of the business. So now we'll go over some of the use cases, why you would actually want to send emails in Snowflake. You can have them sent to keep an eye on your consumption usage, warehouse usage, your Snowpipe consumption. Whenever tasks are executed, you can also get a notification whenever your password expires and it's time to set up another one, or if you need your MFA set up, or if some unauthorized user is attempting to access the account, you can set it up to where you'll get an email every time that happens. So there's a lot of good use cases that you might want to set up emails in Snowflake. So some of the benefits here, it will save you time and money. You'll have enhanced security because you can get those notifications if unauthorized users are there, or if you need MFA set up. It's going to increase visibility because you'll be able to see what's going on with your consumption and task execution. And then you can also use it to automate processes.
So Snowflake has its own mechanism, which is called as Snow Alert mechanism, where they've given you the feature to kind of raise certain form of alerts. And so if you have any business logic, any business rule, then Snowflake has given you the feature to kind of raise alerts when your business rules are applied. I think very recently, Snowflake added the feature that along with the alerts that you have in place, you can even set up email notifications. And so, in fact, in a couple of minutes, I will just go back to doing a quick demo as to where and how you would set up those email notifications from Snowflake. But before I get there, I just want to kind of talk about a few use cases where we feel email notifications would be really helpful. So, for example, for the first one, which is warehouse usage, that's a very important feature because there have been cases where you would have that due to some of the heavy loads or heavy data that's being pushed into Snowflake, you might cross your predefined credits that's given to you by Snowflake. And you might want to have an alert mechanism through an email which tells you that, hey, you are about to cross your assigned limit, and you might want to keep a track of it. Or you might want to kind of tone down some of your warehouses or probably go and purchase more of the Snowflake credits. Another very important business use case that we've come across are Snowpipe consumptions, because there might be features that, in fact, in Snowflake, you can have data up to 10 GB that can come across Snowpipe and Snowflake, but it comes in different various formats. Sometimes you might have 10 MB, you might have 200 MB, 300 MB. So just to make sure that you are able to track the consumption that come across Snowpipe over a week, over a month, over a day to understand what it looks like, email notifications are great. Second scenario are usually tasks. Tasks are nothing but just automated execution objects in Snowflake, which perform or which call subroutines automatically on a predefined schedule. So for example, if you have tasks which have been running across, let's say, more than a day, more than 2 days, or probably are probably stuck in some infinite loop, you can send an email notification saying that, hey, this task has been running for the last 48 hours. You might want to go and shut it down or probably see what's causing the problem. Then the next is your MFA. It's best practice to have MFA enabled for at least all the account admins on your group. And more often than not, in a hurry, people forget to turn on the MFA. I think that's a great notification that you can write a quick logic to check whether you have MFA enabled or not for all your account admins. And if not, you can send an email saying that so and so person does not have the MFA enabled, and you can take the next action accordingly. And then the same logic goes for password expiration and unauthorized access attempts. So now, as part of the demo, I would just take one example where we try to explain that how we've tracked the warehouse usage, and based on the usage, we've kind of sent out a quick email notification. It's a quick demo, but it covers the essential elements that are required to configure email setup from Snowflake. Okay. So this is the classic console of Snowflake. And if you look at the setup over here, the first step in setting up notifications are basically nothing but setting a notification integration. So Snowflake has the property or something called as role-based access control, where it makes sure that whoever accesses the system is assigned to a certain role, and then certain roles have access to certain objects in Snowflake. So every entity in Snowflake would be an object. So that's why when you go about setting up email configuration, you would set up something called as notification integration, which kind of indicates that what's the object you're creating. So step number one, you will create a notification integration, which is my email end, or you can give any name to it, which will indicate the type that you have, and you can specify the recipients that would have access to the email list to which this email will be sent out. So in this scenario, I've added my email here. And then what we've done is we've created two stored procedures. In case if you're wondering about what stored procedures are, we have covered Snowflake stored procedures in Snowflake a while back. But if you have any questions around stored procedures, we can take later during the Q&A session. But if you look at this logic here, what's happening here? So just focus on this first procedure, that is to generate query. It's written completely in SQL. So in Snowflake, you can create store procedures, JavaScript, Java, and I think they've even come up with Python in the last few months. And you also have SQL. So if you just focus on this logic that runs here, which I'm going to highlight here, this logic here is trying to kind of get a list of all warehouses that are, it gives you your name of the warehouse. It gives you that what's the credit used by the warehouse for this month. And that's why you notice that I've used date trunk function here to kind of bring it down to this month. And what's the percentage of this usage compared to your total credit that's assigned to your account. So when I mean by that, so you based on your contract with Snowflake, you would have total number of credits given to you by Snowflake. So in this example, I've taken 500. So this query tells me that give me a list of all those warehouses that have consumed more than, since we're still running in March. I've taken only 3% right now, but you would take a number like 50%, 60%. So give me a list of all those warehouses that have used more than 3% of the credit that's assigned to you from all the warehouses. So by this logic, it gives you some form of control that if you have multiple teams in your company, you might have a market and sales, you might have data science, you might have data engineering, and so on. And you might have assigned a certain set of credits to each team. And if you want to check that, and if you want to keep a rule that, hey, no team should use more than 15% or 20% of my credits assigned every month. And if you have any team that uses more than 20%, you can have an email notification configured to it. So that's the rationale behind having this kind of a setup. So this query would kind of get you that list of those list of warehouses. And then what we're doing is that we generate. So if I just go and do call generate query here, it just gets that list of information here for me in this format. This is not right now formatted very well, but there are certain functions in Snowflake that you can use to kind of format them, and you can make it in a much better format. And then we have another stored procedure over here, which basically calls this procedure to get the list of warehouses. And then it calls this system function, which is called system send email. And this system send email is the one which will actually send out the email for you. So what are the arguments of this function? You have to specify this notification integration, which we created here. You've got to send the email to which it has to go to, the subject of the email, and then what's the body of the email that has to go. So if I just say, after getting the list of warehouses, you can just go and say that run query and email it. You would get done, which is basically we've returned from our stored procedure, so you know that it goes. And if you look at the email over here, you basically have this email that comes from no reply at snowflake.net. That is something fixed. You cannot change that. And then it gives you this list that we have configured here. So right now I've called all of these manually, but to automate this, your next step could be you create a task where you can call the store procedure and you can specify on what time, what date it has to run. So for example, you could have like a job, some form of a task that runs at the end of the day, which would run this logic in the store procedure. And if it satisfies, it sends you an email every day to kind of tell you whether you have any of your warehouses which are crossed your assigned credit. With the same logic, we've used warehouses. You can do the same with Snowpipe consumptions. You can do the same with task execution time and so on, and achieve the same result here.
I'm going to go ahead and put the link for the Medium article written by Felipe Hoffa that we sort of base the idea of doing our meetup on this off of. He writes some really great content, so we love to check out his stuff and encourage you guys to check it out whenever you get a chance to.
I think somebody's raised a hand in the chat.
Hey, Ashish. Hey, yeah. So I have two questions. One is the example which you are talking about, the particular task running for like very long period of time. I think not sure. Snowflake might have some out of box, like they kill our task every 1 hour, an hour. So I was just curious on. I'm not sure whether they kill it every 1 hour, but I know there is a default they have it. Just wanted to make sure this use case which you're talking about are related or something on that. So wanted to check on this use case, whether that Snowflake, whatever it provides to kill any running task more than an hour, whether that would solve our problem, or this will solve our problem if they don't have that feature.
Yeah, I think Ashish, you're absolutely right. And when you say that, it does remind me that there is a time of cutoff limit. I need to double check on the fact whether it is 60 minutes or not, because I know that while setting up the task, you can also specify the time that you want the task to run to. So I think if your feature is to just safeguard that that you don't want your task to keep running entirely and they just keep running the entire time, it will satisfy your problem.
Okay.
But I think what happened in us, I think what we think from the email standpoint is that because right now, if your tasks fail, right, you have to manually go and check in Snowflake that your tasks have failed, and then figure out why it has failed. So taking some scenarios that, for example, that we had some task that was reading data from a source, and that was working every day. It was working perfectly fine, but then something happened in the source, and the task failed for some reason. And the only way we could go and figure out was by manually looking at the task list to see what happened. to figure out, oh, that this task failed at this particular time. So I think email from that point of view could be helpful, that you don't have to wait to kind of code check. You would be notified also in case if your task failed. But to your point, yes, that even that execution time of limit should satisfy your requirement. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. On task failure notification and the example which you're showing, the warehouse usage. Another question I have related to number of this notification integration we can create in one account. Do we have any limit on that? And if you have it, then I have another question.
I am not aware of any limit as such on the notification integration, Ashish.
So I think what we experienced recently, we thought to have a squad start adopting this one, but what my DBA was saying that looks like there is a limit for 10. That's a max number I can create. So we should be careful if we are asking a squad to create this integration. So I was like, okay, I will check. But if there is a limit 10 integration we can create, then it means it's a more sort of, it may be related to a very generic thing, not specific. If somebody from application team is asking to notification to be created in their application. So that's what I got to be curious.
That is a great question, Ashish, because I believe that you're right, that if there are limits, as your DBA stated, then that would beat the entire point of having notification integrations. I can double check on that point, Ashish, and come back to you if there are any limits, but as of now, I don't recollect of any limits. But yeah, I'll be happy to go and take a look and double check on that point also.
Yeah, that would be really helpful. Thanks.
For sure.
Yeah, that's all I had.
Okay, thank you, Ashish. Wonderful questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions?
Hey, hi, this is Vamsi. Thanks for this session. I have one question actually. Can we do any templating with this email system? Like right now, what we are doing is we have a bunch of warehouses where we are processing. So every day, what we do, like we will run a query and we will check like how many credits has been used by each warehouse, and then we will notify that particular department saying like, hey, your incremental load or your load has more than compared to yesterday. So maybe there is worth noticing to check or something like that. We do this manually, and then we will templatize it in a HTML format, and then we will send. But I doubt we can templatize it, but I'm just checking that with you guys.
So what has happened is, Vamsi, that recently Snowflake has also really improved its offerings by adding Python features in Snowflake. And there are some features like, for example, what you could do is that you could create some form of, so when you say a template, there is no native support to create template like the HTML one that you're talking about. But what you can do is you can have a template created using some of the Python features, such as string formation using Python, and that can be converted into some form of a data frame, and that can be moved into a markdown. So you can move into a markdown format, and that markdown is that can be used to kind of create that into a template that can be sent across an email. But it will not be as sophisticated as the one that probably which you're talking about in form of an email, in form of HTML. But there are some more features that we could do using leveraging Python definitely.
So basically what you're suggesting is like use the SnowSQL or any version of the connector, and then run the query and get the result and put it in a data frame, and then use the Snowflake integration email option, and then send that data frame via email. That is what, in a nutshell, that is what you are suggesting, right?
Right. That's one way. Or the other thing I was thinking is that you could spin up a notebook where you can connect using Snowpark libraries in Python itself. And I'm sure there would be some. In fact, I know there's some Python libraries out there that you could use to format some of your content out there. I don't remember at the back of my mind, but you could do it in Python and then push it back from by using the same store procedure here and then pushing the email.
I don't think is there any limit on that information subject like the body of that right? Like let's say if I add more these HTML text, the content will be big, right? So I don't think this particular integration doesn't have any limit on how much MB we can send or anything, right?
Yeah, Snowflake haven't specified any limit as such on the content as of now. So
Okay.
I think that would be derived based on the kind of format you're using for the object. Yeah.
Understood. Hey, thank you very much. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Vamsi.
All right, great session. So we do have another meetup planned for next month. I think we are going to be going over Snowpark, right, Anupav? I have not sent out the invites yet, but I will be posting it by the end of the week in our meetup group.
Right. We've got some Snowpark work that we want to kind of start discussing about. So we'll have Snowpark sessions coming up in the next few months. Yeah.
Awesome. And then we also have our East Coast DBT meetup group, and then we have a Midwest DBT meetup group, and we'll have some sessions coming out in there. And those are all a part of the Modern Data Professionals meetup network, which we're a part of as well. So you might see those come through the network. If you're interested in joining those, we encourage you to do so. Well, thank you everyone for joining tonight, and we will see you at the next one.